councillors, citizens, residents, visitors, welcome back to the Cravenstown streaming complex with your host, your humble mayor, Krayven, on this Sunday, of course it's Sunday, the 11th of August 2019, if it is your first time here. Hello, thank you so much for having a little look at what all the commotion was about, what perfect timing, and whether it is your 1 or 1,000th time coming, you are watching Story Sunday. And let's get some stories. If I can actually have my freaking music up. There we go. That was supposed to be a perfect transition, but because I've got Pillars of Eternity 2 running in the background the whole time, as soon as I have that going, doing the most basic things, like I just want to put a GIF with my go live tweet, and then it just my system just chugs up trying to load those, or I want to change tabs in Chrome to open up the background music and all that kind of stuff. And this is a new one, so. Yeah, okay, I figured it's going to magically get louder. It's going to magically get louder. Right, we're good. Can probably come up a little bit. I can just turn it down my ears like there. All these weeks of doing this, and I never know what to predict, because I always pick a random point in a certain generic point of the playlist. Resident Tusaka cannot contain metal, too much iron, 1,000th time coming. Well, thank you so much, I'm flattered. A Boombot, first alert, blood goes to you. Thank you so much for the host. How you folks been? It's the end of the week. It's the end of the weekend. It's the end of the weekend. It is for me on the evening as well. It's very fucking meta.
Hoi, Pride Lion, hey.
Hoi, Pride Lion, hey, Darkins, how you doing? But I would say I appreciate you coming in. You got to go back to work, but it's a Sunday, so I'm pretty sure, unless I'm profoundly mistaken, that you aren't working and you can just chill with us for what I know is your favourite stream of the week. If I move really quick like that, is that going to give me some drop frames? Because fucking Pillars 2 is meaty as balls. Jesus Christ! Too bad.
Omnissiah.
Text-to-speech lady does not understand the phrase Omnissiah. She doesn't get it. Sandtrooper, thank you so much for hail to the Omnissiah. Hey, text-to-speech bots. It's Omnissiah, what the Mechanicum of Mars worship. Get it right. Goodness, the OMNISSIAH. Ha! Joe Sandtrooper, thank you so much. How you doing? And back to work for you too, Sakura. Oh, goodness, what are you working on? Well, working here right now, but thankfully I love what I do, and it's all thanks to all you lot. Citizen Sapphire, how you doing? Should I say Citizen Sandtrooper? Got to give the citizenship, the citizenship prefix to all you lovely flag wavers. How's your weekends been? It's been a couple of days since the old Thursday. The banter of all banters, one of my favourite streams I've ever done. Thank you, everyone who's part of that. So, what have I been up to? What has your humble mayor been doing to fill the time? Well, that is a fantastic question. Thanks for asking. I have been. Friday was a pretty chill one. Let me have a little look back at the old diary. The old diario, hi, hey. No, wait, that was next week's. Fuck it, I'll just try and remember. No, I won't. I can't. I actually got to flick the pages back. It was mostly just Facebook bits. I'm doing a few bits and pieces with the YouTube. I'm just trying to get all my playlists sorted, because I've got a huge backlog. I'm now up to about 152 streams uploaded onto there, and I realised I haven't got them organised into the playlist of the things. Now, most folks aren't necessarily going to watch back and do that, but if I can link them, it's like, hey, you know what? I like this game, or I like this day. I want to be able to just have a whole bunch of that shit on for like sort of 12 hours while I just get on with a bunch of work. So I'm trying to sort that out. So I did a bit more of that. Chilled in on the Saturday, didn't do any plans and stuff. So the main thing is Saturday, got to a few bits and pieces there. Let's catch up. Halo guys. Is the machine telling us the true way and we're all wrong? Sandtrooper, you make an astute point there. Perhaps Omnissiah is just a lazy I was going to say initialism, acronym, and they actually each letter stands for something, and spelling out each letter is the true way to do it, like STALKER, clear sky, because they've got a dot in between every one. And your weekend, Sapphire's been playing Darkest Dungeon up until 2 a.m. A certain non-solid reflex. One might even say a snap reflex is obviously having an effect there since Friday. That is pretty insane. That's pretty excessive. I get basically my one session in, and that's a bit. Although, thank you for reminding me. I did do a little bit off stream. I tried to take care of a couple of weeks of quick playthroughs so we can go straight back to doing the countess next Thursday, because obviously characters were stressed out and they needed a couple of weeks of R&R, so I wanted to get some in-game weeks going past. So yeah, that's it. I did some of that on Friday, and as is always the case when I play that game offline, things go horribly wrong, except for a while they were going perfectly. I took this awesome blight heavy party, like this blight causing machine. So folks, I think most of you now Darkest Dungeon runs who just rocking in so far to the, where do we take them, the ruins, yeah, to a champion level run through the ruins, just a little scouting run, no bother, we were kicking ass, no stress, no trouble, absolutely nothing to worry about whatsoever. Oh, sorry, the colours and tone are changing a little bit with my, because I've still got the natural light coming in here, which is what's lighting my face with this sort of radiosity blue, and it's making my colour scheme look a bit washed out. Hopefully something to go away, because I've ordered it. Anyway, I'll get to that. Stay on the point. Come on, Krayven. No tangents. Mad tangents. But right. Anyhow, and you may recall on that dungeon run, the big one on Thursday, trying to get to the Countess, we rescued a shield breaker, and she was level 5 as well. Like came in at level 5. It's like perfect. I needed a second one of those. Anyway, long story short, she died because I'd never beaten a champion level Shambler. Like, the Shambler is like probably one of the hardest corridor bosses, potentially. I would say the Fanatic is actually harder now. The Thing from the Stars I can usually beat no problem. The Collector is a joke, but I'd never taken on a champion Shambler because they're always supposed to be way too tough. And I didn't have a special party deliberately assembled to be able to beat him. I just had this rather good, I had a Shield Breaker, a Grave Robber, a Vestal, and a Plague Doctor. So, you know, welcome to the Blight City where the grass is non-existent because we burned it all with chemicals. And yeah, we wiped. Firstly, I have now beaten a champion level Shambler, summoned him from the altar, torching it, big background came in, kicked his ass. But obviously, even on the best case that day, he is a stress monster, and he put two of them at like 90 and 85 before we killed him. And I actually got to the end of the run, like, done, quest complete, do you want to go back to the hamlet or do you want to carry on? And there was one battle left. The rest of it was done. I just had to pick up some extra curios, no bother. One battle left, and I then picked up 2 additional afflictions. And obviously afflictions, the stress is self-fulfilling, they start causing more stress amongst one another. And I got the shield breaker, got to the point that she had a heart attack, so she was constantly on the 0 health and not accepting healing, and then something just came in and boom, death blow. So didn't get too used to having that shield breaker. I mean, I'd beaten a champion level Shambler and carried on and completed the quest, and I could have left. And my pride got the better of me, thereby maintaining my curse of whenever I play Darkest Dungeon, not for you lovely folks, something goes horribly wrong. So once again, lesson learned. Oh my days. Right, let's catch up on the rest there. Darken says, my weekend is good. I saw Hoobs and Shaw. Oh, wicked, man. How was Hoobs and Shaw? Yeah, sorry, taking a little bit of time. I just wanted to tell that story without interrupting myself. How was Hoobs and Shaw, Darkens? That sounds really, really cool. Darkest is so great. What's your favourite class? My weekend was working on 40k models. Yeah, and Resonant Titanium. Hello. Yes, Sandtrooper, I saw. Nice job on that base, the red dust base. That looks like an awesome. Any like Mars, obviously it could be a Martian surface or any kind of red dust surface. I could imagine that would suit Mechanicum sort of planets, you know, Forge worlds so well. And oh my god, you have every current 40k box set, because Games Workshop are trying to push out loads of individual box sets with pre-built armies and things at the moment. That's their thing, so there's variety for everyone. And I saw that photo in Crafter's Alley of your workstation for your hobby modelling, and you had shitloads of it there. Titanium, how you doing? Oh, and you berated Snap for doing something bad. I'll let him tell you later. Okay, cool. Citizen Knackered Housewife. Hello. Oh, and Miss Huntmaster Darkins starting our first hunt of the evening. Anyway, so Darkest Dungeon went poorly. I had a few beers, watched a few episodes of The Expanse, and had a pretty chill Friday. Roll on Saturday. Now, you might notice, if I take my headset off, bit of a haircut, well, what's left of my hair there is to cut. My face is a bit less woolly, and those of you who are already proud and observant members of Krayven's Town fully, and if you're not, you totally should be, check us out right there. Your humble mayor had a bit of a date. I haven't been dating the last 3 or so months. Haven't really done a great lot of it since I moved back to Oxfordshire. In London, it was all the time. But in fact, dates and encounters have generally been when I've gone back up to London. Ironically enough, I was like, is there nothing going on in the Shire? Jesus. Anyhow, all of a sudden, there's been a few folks I'm talking to via the whole online dating scene, a Bumble especially, and yeah. So I'm not bitter about you winning the. Honestly, Knackered Housewife, you're the one who created a competition, and you went. Looks like it's turning into a date off. I just agreed. So you have been literally hoisted by your own petard. I won't pretend that reading about your thing was. I didn't find it funny that like mine went well and yours didn't go so well. Just like how the bits of the story is like, well, that went to shit, but I saved the night because Knackered Housewife had a date on Saturday as well, and didn't go so well, and she had to rescue the evening by going out and doing some drinking on the night to recover. Although I love that little response about, oh yeah, we should totally burgle this place when someone's gone, and later on that shop or was it a vegan or vegetarian restaurant where you're at, and turns out later on that exact day it actually got burgled. That was amazing. It was an entertaining evening overall. That's the main thing. And the hunters are victorious. Nice one. Look at us, guys. We're amazing. We're on it. So yeah, now, but there was a slight spanner in the works, but nothing. A practical sort of chap who can run an entire cyber town in cyberspace that's constantly evolving couldn't handle. My original plans got shifted because the young lady because I'm not exactly young anymore, who I was going to go and meet in the afternoon. She's a scientist. And she, as is with science, got caught up in the lab. She was working the night before and working that same morning, yesterday morning, on a bunch of important experiments. Now, I'm very, very pro-science guy. I love science and I love the whole principle, and I can't stand pseudoscience and bunk and everything else to do with that. So I'm very sensitive and supportive to all of that. She's like, she's trying to get stuff finished for a paper, otherwise 2 days of experiment results are going to go wrong. And fair enough, but totally, okay, cool. Rescheduled to Monday, so tomorrow night. Anyway, I'll get to the schedule about all that, but yeah, there'll be some changes in the coming week for this coming week. It couldn't happen. Now, in the meantime, it's not the only person recently I've been chatting to. It's like a bit of a bus, a London bus. You wait for ages and then 2 or 3 turn up at once. I've had a couple of 2 or 3 quiet months on like no real interactions on the dating scene, and then suddenly it's like all at the same time. So I was like, well, I've gone to get a haircut. I've tidied myself up. I've been lounging around the house for like in my free time, not doing a great lot for about a couple of weeks. So I'd gotten a bit dishevelled, shall we say? So to answer your expand more on your question, Knackered Housewife, how long it takes me to get ready. It was certainly more than the 20 minutes when I'm already ready to go. Yeah, right, I'm loving it. Knackered Housewife is fantastic. So I had to spend some time sort of like de-disgustifying myself and like, hey, I'm gonna go out like back into the world and like meet other humans I'm trying to impress, so make yourself a bit more presentable. And it was a bit of a last minute thing, but someone else I've been sort of chatting with on and off. It's like, are you free this evening, like Saturday? I was like, it's like Saturday afternoon, you up to much tonight? She's like, no, I haven't got plans. So boom, straight out, a few drinks. Went pretty well, not gonna lie. So feeling pretty buzzed off the back of that. And then today has just been catching up on a few bits and bobs. Been doing more of the YouTube stuff. Started properly drawing. I took of the third emote, the metal one of the that, which is going to be our third Cravenstown emote, I'd already had the concepts done for ages, which I'd shared previously in the Citizens Lounge, and I just cracked open an hour before I started. I cracked open Photoshop. I was like, right, I'm going to do the blue line version. I'm going to start, if you know a bit about doing concept art, like you have your physical copy, you bring that in, and then you do your digital tracing over the top of that, usually in a sort of blue colorization, and then start fine tuning. And then I'm actually going to be doing the outlines and then the fill and build up the detail. Like those of you who saw the live art stream or have seen, like, saw the previous legit emote, like how all that goes together. So yeah, just cracking on with that. I was like, right, you know what, make a start on that, and then it's like a snowball rolling down the hill. You get more and more of it done. So yeah, that's been pretty much it. I had some beers stopping in, a little bit annoyed and simultaneously embarrassed. There's one last little thing that's happened. I was hoping to watch the rugby this afternoon. I'm not much of a sports fan, a sports watcher, but Mr. Redweird, IRL friend and excellent streamer, reminded me that it was on England versus Wales. And I got into my head, for some reason, I misread it like it was a World Cup match. And then I was like, oh, England versus Wales in the World Cup? Yeah, I'll watch that. I used to play rugby, so I can kind of follow it. And I was like, yeah, go on then. I'll have it on in the background while I'm doing other things. And it was on. I looked up where it was on. Is it going to be BBC or ITV? It's like, oh, it's on Sky Sports. Like, Sky Sports? What's a World Cup game? Like a huge World Cup on a UK team versus UK team. Why has a subscription-only service got that? That should be on terrestrial for everyone. They've ruled out like 95% of people who watch rugby. Rah, 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 rah. And I was about to put out a really entitled, obnoxious tweet about it, and I'd put it in this little WhatsApp group that I'm in with like a couple of friends who usually want to tell me about sport that's going on, because I have no idea, because I don't watch it with my own volition. And he's like, yeah, it's just a test. It's just a test friendly before the World Cup. It's nothing to do with it. Right, well, good. Okay, well, enjoy that. I hope you enjoy it. I felt like such a dick. I'm so glad that came in. If he had taken a bit of a while to respond to that, and I'd gone all over the internet and just been like, kind of, yeah, it's not, what the fuck, dude, don't you know anything about sports? So that was a relief that I didn't make a complete tit of myself. Well, only in private, so that was fine. Let me just catch up on there. Yeah, just a few things to do with the channel. So like I said, segueing into that, the third emote is actually underway now. I appreciate your patience with all of that stuff. This coming week I made a couple of notes. I'm going to start drafting up a separate document for my sound effects, like what I want to get included and what ones I want to start including, either per week or enough per month. So by the time the next Cravenstown Chronicle comes out for all these citizens, I can be like, hey, we've got these new ones in, and yeah, planning that out, because I'm going to have eventually a whole selection on a separate website, and the sound effects command, I'll just have the sound effects menu on a sound effects command that will give you a link to that site. That way they don't all have to be in the channel panel listing, like taking up tons of space. I'll just have a thing, and then you can browse them at your leisure, start to learn a few popular ones or ones that you really like, and I have like a most played or a most wanted at the top. So that's kind of how I'm imagining it. And yeah, it's a knackered housewife. You and I both have another date on the Monday, so it is turning into a little bit of a day off. So you get. I'm hoping it doesn't go. If mine goes well, yours is going to have to go outstandingly, but you'll have to beat me by a significant enough margin, and then we'll call it a 1-1. It was entertaining, I seriously hope the police don't turn up for a chat. Oh, yeah, in case of like... So this vegetarian restaurant actually got burgled. The one that you were literally in when the manager went out for a few minutes right before... I don't know. Naked housewife, you do not have much of an alibi. You have an awful lot of guilty evidence right here. I don't know, I might have to make a little phone call later. It's only my duty as a citizen. Saf says, oh god, I remember a couple of my friends during biomedical science days being trapped in labs. Yeah, Safa, one of my best friends... when I was out in Belgium, she's an Irish lady, and she was doing her neuroscience PhD, and like when she was having to do stainings of like brain slices, and she was working with stem cells and all that, just like the time she had to like just be working in the lab, and then she'd eventually escape and come to the pub at like 9 in the evening. It's like, it was ridiculous. This is why I don't do a PhD. Fair. Love science, I'm happy with my degree, but it was enough for me. Yes, same. Huge fan of science, but I'm not inclined to do a PhD. I've got my kind of, it's a master's, but yes and no kind of thing, because of the way UK sandwich courses work. Oh, and yes, well done, well thought by Knackered Housewife. And other than that, yay, date went well. Yish, Wales. Oh, Sapphire, you're a Wales supporter, are you? You caught some of that. Oh, did you watch some of it? Yeah, I don't even know the score. Resident C Dying, Go Blue Man Group. The Blue Man Group. The Blue Man Group. Are they still performing in Vegas? Just out of interest, I've not even thought of them until recently. See You Die, and they used to be all the thing in the noughties, all the rage. Well, given the tone of our conversation, an excellent evening is on the cards. Oh, well, jolly good. Fingers crossed for you. Other fingers crossed, legs crossed, eyes crossed. I can't even cross my eyes like on purpose. And yeah, it genuinely got burgled. But I'm sure the CCTV will show I was busy getting shit-faced elsewhere. Scotland. Oh, the Blue Man Group are in Scotland. That's really interesting. Cool. Oh, what a legend. Perfect way to round up, warm up, and then we'll get on with some stories. Citizens, you know the drill. Hit that legit. See you. Oh, sorry, it was Darkins did that. That's so. I didn't even see the different blurb coming up. I thought it was See You Die and renewing it of his own volition. I apologise. Darkins, thank you so much. God, I got sex on the brain. Thank you so much for gifting Citizen. I did it again. Right, third time's a charm. Thank you so much for gifting citizenship to See You Die. Their Cravenstown visa is approved, and you are amazeballs. See you, Diane. Bloody hell, another month I've had to endure the wrong flash. Thank you very much. Well, see you, Diane. Welcome back. Come on, we've got a few more citizens in here than this, folks. Hit that legit, please. Please. You have the proof, you have the right, you got the thing there. Hit that legit. See you, Diane. Welcome back to the Cravenstown citizenry. You're not just legit, you're once again Cravenstown legit. Enjoy the renewed use of the legit emotes, more to come, and hit that legit as you see fit. The most combat game slang on the internet, the only place you'll actually get one. And wave your Cravenstown town flag loud and proud every time you chat. And of course, the more your citizenship is re-upped by yourself or others, the more fancy and high profile and prestige it will become. You'll be able to enter our citizens giveaway. The next one will be the first stream of September, as close to the 1st of September itself as I can make it. Draw time will be 8 p.m. And unless that day happens to fall on a non-stream. Anyway, yeah, let's just say 8 p.m. You'll have your access returned once again to Citizens Towers and the perks therein of the lounge and the treasury. And last but by no means least, my undying appreciation and gratitude for your continued and regular support in view, and to Darkins for your 38th gifted visa in the channel. Thank you so much indeed. Well, I hope your Monday date helps you out with that. Well, it's a first date, so I'm a little bit quasi funny about that kind of stuff on a first date that's a proper date, unless the vibe's really going that way. It was kind of close last night, but gentleman doesn't kiss and tell, except in his Discord. So 1st December is a Sunday. The day after my birthday, I'll be hella hungover. Oh, perfect. Well, I'll be doing a story Sunday and a giveaway then on the Sunday the 1st of September, hopefully. Yeah, I'm not in. Yeah, the stag do's the following weekend, so that's fine. All right. I think it's time we cracked on with some stories. Those of you who haven't been here before, it's a 2-part stream on a Sunday. Story Sunday is the overarching theme. The first part is dedicated to submissions from my delightful community, whether it's stories of their own or fun things they found from around the internet, like Reddit or science articles or cool little bits and pieces, poems, and all that kind of stuff. So without further ado, let's get a little bit of that on. I'll just pop the music down fractionally. That should be okay. Hopefully there's a nice balanced background music to my voice. It's always a bit hard to tell when you got your own headphones. So the very first one is actually one that got written up for us last week, but it didn't get finished before I'd moved on to part 2. Let me just make sure. Excuse me, sure I'm looking in the right place. Suggestion forum, and this is by I actually don't know their Twitch username. It's the Discord person is Fagiatura, and joined up with us last Sunday. But that definitely wasn't a name I recalled from anyone becoming a new resident. So I did ask like who they were on the stream, but I couldn't actually recall. I couldn't recall from after I finished going live because my memory was like a bit of a sieve. So there we are. I'm going to read this straight from the Discord. Perhaps some of you will have done already. So the This is a story about when a kid is being a brat in a noisy and public area. This is a habit apparently from Fagiatura. When a kid is being a brat in a noisy and public area, I casually get close to them and fart on their head/face. I'm really tall, so it's usually a direct hit. It's funniest when the kid notices and doesn't know what to do because I'm a giant. Wow, alright, well, I mean, I sped read this to make sure it wasn't completely terrible, but, wow, okay. I just got to wait until my second monitor is almost finished charging, so I didn't do it in time before the stream started. So, one time I was pretty drunk with a friend at Target buying Risk. Target is a US store for UK folks, or anyone else who doesn't know. This little Mexican 5 to 7 year old with a mohawk was being an insufferable little shit in the action figure section. I heard him from like 5 aisles over, and it was nails on a chalkboard. I tell my friend, I'm going to fart on this kid's head. Watch and learn. I have to admit, being pretty drunk kind of certainly encourages this, because, oh my word, I love the watch and learn. I saunter on over to the aisle in question and see the vile little prick calling his mum an idiot for not buying him a huge G.I. Joe the movie vehicle. The mum's going, I already bought that one for you and you broke it by throwing it down the stairs. Kid goes, shut up, I need it, it's the only one I don't have now. The mother was younger than me, and Fagiatura is in his mid-20s, and gave a defeated look. I don't have enough money right now. Kid goes, you're an idiot, and continued to just berate and publicly shame this woman. At the time, I was on a strict Chipotle carnitas burrito diet. Oh my god. That's making me think of, hi, Barry Bonds here with another fantastic product. Do you enjoy Chipotle but hate the feeling of having to get the blood out of your underwear? Anyway, so Chipotle, yeah, digestive distress is a common occurrence, it seems. And while I was watching all this, my stomach gave me an initial warning gurgle, very courteous stomach, telling me I was about an hour away from punishing the toilet. Serendipity! Destiny! The kid shouts, fuck you! I hate you! The mum rolls her eyes and turns her back to the kid to ignore him. And could you believe it? The kid gets on his hands and knees and starts taking the toy out of the box. It's time, it's go time, motherfucker. I position my back towards him, and at this point I'm like 2 feet away from him. I bend down to reach for one of the toys on the lower shelf. At this point my ass is inches away from this kid's head. I'm so close that from a distance it looks like I'm about to sit on him. My friend sees this happening and can no longer contain himself. He's covering his mouth, but his hee-haw hyperventilating donkey chortle is fairly audible over the late 90s pop music playing on loudspeakers. The kid immediately looks up towards the laughter, but can't help but notice there is an ass now directly in his face. Now, I'm trying not to laugh, but also panicking as I just made eye contact with him. He furls his brow, and I look over in the mother's. He furls his brow, and I look over in the mother's direction, still back towards us. I relish in the moment and the look on the child's confused and naive face. The initial blast was mighty and boisterous. I'm appreciating the range of vocabulary used here. This is how I'd write a story. I swear I saw his hair blowing in the wind, so to speak. If I wasn't wearing jeans, I think I could have probably blown over an empty soda can. I would call it a very fun fart. A double plus would buy again. However, what immediately followed that out the chamber was truly horrifying. The fart's implication changed without notice and swiftly. It went from a joyous, dry air horn squeal to a nefarious hissing mephitis. I think the little Muppet noticed the hateful metamorphosis before even I did, because he wrenched his neck violently, trying to get away from the personified evil being fumigated into his soul. Because of his positioning, hovering over the toy, hands and knee, It was all in vain, as the only way out was forward, and forward would mean certain death. In total, it lasted about 4 seconds. 4 seconds is a long fart. I'm just going to pause and count down. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's a long fart. But for that kid, it must have seemed like time was frozen. The long-term, severe brain damage which he no doubt suffered only added to that effect. When I finished, there was a silent, pregnant pause. The kid was clearly shocked and stunned. No one had ever stood up to this dwarf sociopath in his whole life. I had taken the words out of his mouth and filled it with fart. I make my move first, picking up the toy I was reaching for off the low shelf, take a few steps forward and stare at it for a few seconds. The only thing the kid could manage to do was burst into tears. My friend senses danger, the jig is up, and his head darts for cover. The mum turns around to see her kid with an open toy, crying on the floor, and me minding my own business. She walks up to him and asks what's wrong, but the kid can't speak. All he gets out is a It took every fibre in my body not to laugh. Sensing that his assailant was getting away scot-free, he somehow managed to compose himself for a moment. He shouts, "He farted on me!" I was almost around the corner when the mum goes, "Excuse me, sir." "Sir?" I turn around nonplussed. Who? Me? I was while pointing to myself. "Yes. Did you just fart on my son?" Weighing my options, I played dumb. What? I mean, I did fart. On my son? Well, I mean, technically speaking, I mean, what is on? Why did you fart on my son? At this point, the little kid has a look of schadenfreude on his face, happy to see me in trouble. "Fuck you. I'm a man. I will fart on you if I please." I turn my attention to the little kid and stare at him because the whole store could hear him being a little rotten asshole to his mother, so I thought I'd come over here and treat him like one. The mum looks at me, her son, and the scattered G.I. Joe wrappers box on the floor. The mum is puzzled as to what to do and says, just go. That's my cue. I turn around, walk away with a little extra step. As soon as I turn the corner, I book it outside as fast as I can. We laugh on the car ride back about the whole scene. And with a slight hint of seriousness in his tone, my friend asks me, "Do you do that a lot?" I say, not that much. Like once every 6 months or so. We both knew I was lying. Wow, well, to resident Fagiatura, sorry, I know that's not your residency name, but in the Discord of Fagiatura, I firstly hope that you didn't miss the reading of that. Thank you for taking, that was a 4-part write-up in the suggestion forum. That was amazing. That was genuinely amazing. Chipotle is lush, to be fair. Oh, just wait till he hits puberty and thinks back. Yeah, so I had to be out of that, like I say, my screen, so I couldn't read the chat at the same time. I would have just ran. Actually, I wouldn't have farted on a child in the first place. Truth be told, I probably wouldn't have done either. But I'm so glad that Fagiatura did. And also the follow-up, owning it, yeah, because this kid's a little shit. So... Hey, Resident Dark Wolf, how you doing? Hey, peeps, what we're reading? Read start. Yeah, just community story submissions. And folks, I've got a suggestion actually of my own. If you want to submit a big story like that, it's great in the suggestions forum, but don't forget in Krayven's Town, in the in Artisans Plaza, we actually have a writer's coffee shop. So anything from your short stories, if you publish them elsewhere, is for links. But if you want to write a longer screed, you can do it directly in there. And then perhaps if you have your own story for Story Sunday, either put it in a thing and link it, or put it in the writer's coffee shop. And then because you can link from a post in a Discord elsewhere in the Discord, and just go in the suggestions forum, here's the thing and here's where it is, and then it just means that the writer's coffee shop gets a bit more love in it, and then we've just got lots of tight suggestions in the suggestions forum. I was just thinking that when I saw, because a lot more new stuff came in, I had to scroll back up quite far to read it, and it was a great story, whereas it'd be much more easily findable in the writer's coffee shop. And those of you who didn't already know or didn't remember, we have if you're into creative writing and things like that, and you write your own little stories and bits, we have that in Artisans Plaza, so check it out. But to Fagiatura, what a fantastic start. That was an amazing story, and once again, thank you for taking the time to write that up. I should put down the time when I first met my fiance. Totally, Sapphire, that would be an amazing, like your own like extended stories and things like that. Writer's coffee shop could be like that as well. It can be we've already got Town Square for general chat, and we've got the community centre for a longer section about yourself, who you are, what you're into, and so on. But like bigger, longer individual stories you want to tell, like about stuff that's gone on for you, writer's coffee shop. It can be if you still creative writing of a kind. Absolutely. Well, that was awesome. So let me get on with the Sapphire, I see you're typing in there with a suggestion forum, so if you've got a link, drop it right in before part 1 finishes. But otherwise, if it's the if it's what you're suggesting, the story of how you met your fiance, in Artisans Plaza, the bottom district, just stick it in the writer's coffee shop. Okay, now the next couple of things we got is the first submission's actually from Knackered Housewife, Citizen Knackered Housewife. Whoever wrote this, yes, now this is one of these two-way readings. So you read it from top to bottom, and then you read it going backwards. And it's actually a relatively simple process to do, but you can get some very clever stuff, and they're usually quite positive to do. She shared it as a picture, and it's called Pretty Ugly, and the pretty is written upside down and back to front kind of thing. In fact, excellent. Right, before I get started with that, my second monitor is actually fully juiced. It's fully juiced, so let me actually bring that up here. Didn't have time to fully charge it before we started tonight's show, and now I can watch and read everything properly. Yay! Alright, and if I may, actually, folks, if you do me a solid, hey, Citizen Hizmaka, how you doing? If you could like and retweet that particular bad boy, that is our going live tweet for both parts of today, that would be fantastic. Okay, excellent, I can see everything that's coming in now. Marvellous. Marvellous. So, Pretty Ugly. I'm very ugly, so don't try to convince me that I am a very beautiful person. Because at the end of the day, I hate myself in every single way, and I'm not going to lie to myself by saying there is beauty inside of me that matters. So rest assured, I will remind myself that I am worthless, terrible. That I am a worthless, terrible person, and nothing you say will make me believe I still deserve love. Because no matter what, I'm not good enough to be loved, and I am in no position to believe that beauty does exist within me. Because whenever I look in a mirror, I always think, am I as ugly as people say? Now, from the bottom up, am I as ugly as people say? Because whenever I look in the mirror, I always think beauty does exist within me, and I'm in no position to believe that I am not good enough to be loved. Because no matter what, I still deserve love, and nothing you say will make me believe that I am a worthless, terrible person. So rest assured, I will remind myself there is beauty inside of me that matters, and I'm not going to lie to myself by saying I hate myself in every single way, because at the end of the day, I am a very beautiful person, so don't try to convince me that I'm very ugly. Love it. Knackered Housewife, thank you so much. There was definitely, I remember the first YouTube video I saw that had that, and it went down on the video and then it went back up, and it was the first time I saw it. I thought it was so clever, and they became quite popular for a little while. And here's Marker, how you doing, my dude? And this one is Forever and Anon. It hasn't got any attribution, and it's an image shared, so I don't know who wrote this, but it's called Dust If You Must. Dust if you must, but wouldn't it be better to paint a picture or write a letter? Bake a cake or plant a seed? Ponder the difference between want and need. Dust if you must, but there's not much time, with rivers to swim and mountains to climb, music to hear and books to read, friends to cherish and life to lead. Dust if you must, but the world's out there, with the sun in your eyes and the wind in your hair, a flutter of snow, a shower of rain. This day will not come around again. Dust if you must, but bear in mind, old age will come, and it's not kind. And when you go, and go you must, you yourself will make more dust. Love that one. That's fantastic. That, and also a very, very poignant way to say fuck chores. Oh, hang on a minute. What's going on with my phone? Is not showing anything coming up on the stream. That's really weird. It was just showing a black screen. Ah, right, it's back. Okay, that was obviously just affecting myself. Terrible, but okay. Oh, his marker. Terrible, but okay. If anything you need to get off your chest, dude, please feel free. As you know, you're amongst friends here, and we're obviously supportive of when folks are having hard times or dealing with issues and all that kind. So you don't have to, whatever you're comfortable with. But if you want to, go right ahead and unload, my man. So that was great. Both of those rather fun poems were submitted by, excellent poems were submitted by Knackered Housewife. Okay. Oh, okay, Sapphire, you've put it straight into the suggestions forum. All right, I'll read it from there. But yeah, like I say, I'll just put the little link to it as well. As I was trying to suggest, like, yeah, something like that is good for it, and then you can just put a link straight to it in here, and then it's easier to keep track of all the suggestions. So yeah, just for like future write-ups and stuff, please do that. I like longer write-ups and things. So this is, we got the first of our Reddit things. This is from See You Dying. It was posted yesterday from ProRevenge. Yeah, sorry, I figured that I was explaining all of that when you started writing. I figured you heard all of it. No, it's okay. You don't have to. You don't have to at all. But I was saying, like, for what Fagiatura did, a big long write-up like that. We have like a writer's coffee shop for stuff like that. That's would also be a perfect fit there, because it saves like what you write potentially getting lost in amongst as easily in amongst the suggestions, because we get a bunch of suggestions coming in every week. Is what I was getting at, was why I explained it before you started. Okay, so this is from Reddit, ProRevenge. Have a story of you or someone you know getting back at someone with ProRevenge after being wronged? And that's what it is. Note that I assume the story to be made up by the OP. Which one do you think's made up? Which one did you think was? I think the big one we just read by Fagiatura. It sounded pretty. I mean, it was very well written, very creatively written. Oh, the one you linked. Ah, okay. This one you reckon? Right. So apparently, well, See You Dying reckons this one might be made up, but okay. Well, we'll go through it anyway. So this is by user UG. Okay. Well, that username is a bit debatable. And this is called Blackmail Me, I Will Fuck You Up. So this actually isn't my story, but my aunt's. We recently had a family dinner together, and she finally told us this story of why we never meet our uncle anymore. For some backstory, my aunt is a high-functioning, high-octane unit of a woman. She's a surgeon and has time to run marathons and play with her 2 kids. She married my uncle when they were like 20, so she had spent a whole chunk of her life with him. She received an email a few years ago blackmailing her. It said, if you don't leave your husband, I'll release your sex tape that was filmed without her knowledge online. there was a screenshot of the sex tape in question in which you could see her face clearly, but not her husband's, although it was him, his face was out of shot. She said she was terrified, but when she came to her senses, she thought that it was weird they didn't ask her for money. She became suspicious of the email itself, and then she began to suspect the uncle. His name's James. I'll just say James. Suspect James. She thought it was his ploy to separate from her without needing to file for divorce first. And if there was a sex tape filmed, he must have access to it, as she wasn't the one filming. She went through his phone to find the sex tape. Instead, she found that he had been cheating on her with another woman while he was stationed in Japan. He was a Navy SEAL. She saw the texts, nudes, and eventually arrived at the part where James sent the video to the woman, who suggested they use it against my aunt in order to get her to leave him first and get custody of the kids, as they claim neglect. She went berserk. She said, "Not only did I find out he was cheating, but that I had married an idiot with the mind of an undescended testicle who doesn't know basic custodial laws." She then promptly downloaded their WhatsApp chat data and did the following. James, for her husband, she immediately called her in-laws and explained the situation in graphic detail. They love her, so they begged to remain in the kids' life. Granted, they financially support the kids, not her. 2, she filed for divorce and used the cheating against him. She ended up getting full custody and he didn't get visitation because she sued him, number 3, under lawful surveillance. He went to jail for 3 months, was fired, and now has a permanent criminal record. As for the woman in Japan, she called the husband of the woman, explained the situation and sent him the texts and pictures. 2, she called the woman's workplace and stated she had been distributing photos of herself over a secured website. She was apparently a civil servant, and she isn't anymore. 3, my aunt contacted the woman's parents and explained the situation in detail, and they offered to pay for the legal bills. 4, she applied to a bunch of escort stripper clubs with the woman's information using her work and personal email. That's a little bit mean. That's a little bit excessive. She put the woman's phone number, but understandable. She put the woman's phone number online as a sex call service. When she changed her phone number, my aunt found out through social media and did it again. 6, she wrote a letter to the woman detailing how small... Okay, yeah, that last one I'm not even going to read. It's very petty. Jokes aside, though, she's still going to therapy over this, so I think it's well deserved. Don't fuck with my aunt, guys. So wow, that's almost nuclear revenge. Well, Jesus, that's a pretty heavy one. That's pretty harsh. Okay, Tifa. The one after, even after that, I wasn't going to finish because it was very cruel. Okay, then the next few we've got is from Reddit Master Darkins. So the first one is from IDontWeekHereLady, and as always, just a little description of what this subreddit is about. It's a derivative of subreddits like Tales from Retail. It involves stories about folks that go into other businesses and have, as people go into businesses and have angry customers in these places, mistake them for employees. So this one is posted by Aging Millennial. I can relate as an aging millennial myself. Job keeps scheduling well beyond time that I quit. For Reddit, I don't work here, lady. So a few years back, I was waiting tables at one of those places where you can easily pay all of your bills and plus some working 3 or 4 shifts a week. Because I had so much downtime, I would go do things like have random road trips, and if I had too many days off, I decided it would be a good idea to get a second job. I ended up taking a second job working at a hotel waiting tables for breakfast. Surprisingly, hotel breakfast service in nice hotels can make decent money. This might be a good time to mention that they had to hire breakfast people because existing staff just wouldn't show up as scheduled. Anyway, it's a mess from the beginning. They're trying to do team service during breakfast, which was unnecessary and confusing to guests. More than once, I'd show up and be the only front waiter, the person who actually takes the order and talks to guests, with 3 people whose only job is to keep drinks full, who would have a fit every time I sold alcohol. It's a drinking city, any people want booze for breakfast. And another 3 whose only job was to clear and reset. Completely unacceptable on a Saturday morning in a full hotel. Let's see. Eventually, I was over it and turned in my 2 weeks' notice. The schedule comes out for the week after I'm supposed to be done, and I'm on it. I talk to the manager and remind him that I turned in my notice and I'm scheduled past my last day. I agree to work that week, but that's it. Next schedule, same thing, same conversation. 3rd week rolls around and I'm over it. I remind all managers that my last day was 2 weeks ago and advise them to look at the schedule. I didn't show up for any of the shifts that week, so I assumed the matter was closed. Fast forward another 2 weeks later, now 7 weeks after I turned in my notice and 5 weeks after what was supposed to be my last day. So Jesus Christ, like they wouldn't, they literally, he worked an extra 2 weeks. I'm assuming he got paid 2 weeks past his last day. My phone is ringing off the hook at 7 a.m. It's one of the managers is desperate and trying to call me in. I remind him that I quit over a month earlier. Turns out that not a single front waiter showed up, and the small army on the floor was incapable of doing anything beyond pouring a coffee or grabbing a juice. Things I told them as part of my reason for leaving. I just told him, sorry, I don't work there and it's not my problem, and hung up. Never heard from him again. Alright, Jesus. That one is a little bit ridiculous. I'm surprised if that was my last day and I've been put on the schedule next week and I've just been like, yeah, I'm not showing up. I can see it's well deserved. Just went whoosh, okay, yeah. I agree, Sapphire. I think the other stuff already was getting in, but at the same time, the woman's life was obviously really quite damaged, and she was going to therapy. So I'm like, I can sympathise, but when you read it just like that, it comes off as a little bit. Ugh. Okay, so another one of courtesy of Darkens from I Don't Work Here Lady by user Oh Yeah That's Neat. Posted a day ago. The baby boomer boss you all fear. Alright, so obviously a generational thing. I was the tech girl for a crazy baby boomer boss, Deborah, who believed that if she typed in her password incorrectly and it asked for it again, the government was spying on her and we had to shut down everything. All of the computers in the office. I got paid by the hour and she wouldn't listen to explanations, so fine. So this is not only a complete technophobe, but a power-tripping technophobe, a micromanaging technophobe as well. I did everything technology related for her for 2 years, but for this story, you need to know I built her website. I gave her a 3 months notice of when I was leaving because it was a small business and me leaving would be a huge hit. 3 months was for her to find a new tech person and cope with losing me emotionally, as apparently she was extremely attached. She wanted to write me into the will and I was the daughter she'd never had, etc. I empathised with her, but she was an extremely toxic person. Yeah, that sounds highly manipulative of an employee. I leave on the expected date, and she has done 0 interviews for a new tech person. In the first weeks of my leave, I would take her calls, but she still owed me over $1,000 and was asking me to just pop in, grab $60 and fix something up since I was already there. I accepted once, fully realising this would be her method of getting free work out of me, but needed the money and declined ever since. The fun part. 1 month out and I'm getting non-stop calls multiple times a day from my old boss. She seems to have forgotten I had quit. Voicemails range from a cooing voice saying, "Okay, sweetie, this is a fun vacation, but I can't wait for you to get back," to a high-stressed and annoyed, "Okay, this isn't funny, the website is crashing, the guy on the phone doesn't know what to do, and you have to come back here and fix this and make a new one while you're at it for another company I have. Call me back now." I almost thought that I didn't properly tell her I was quitting, but I did. I mean, yeah, this is borderline gaslighting. So on this day, while at my new job, I'm getting the chain calls. While at my new job, I'm getting the chain calls from the Debster, my ex-boss, Deborah. I can't take them since I'm in a meeting, so I silence my phone. Then my mother calls. I think either it's an emergency or Debbie broke my rule. Important to note, once while I worked there, she called my mother for information on me when I was 10 minutes late, a phone number she shouldn't have had and probably stole from me. I told her that as a professional, if she ever contacted my parents again, it would be the last she heard of me, no warning. I step out of the meeting to take my mother's call. She says what I expect, that Debbie is looking for me, and I tell her to block the number and avoid all unknown calls. Another less than morally upstanding tendency of the Debster. I refuse to pick up any more calls. I put her ringtone on silence, and all the messages get progressively more psycho. Eventually they stop, and today I live Debbie free, thank God. Jesus Christ. There's actually a little follow-up. You have to give some more details on these calls, some users requested. This is shaping up to be a good one. And, oh man, I have some crazy stories from her, but I think they belong in a different subreddit. I'll see what I can find since it was a few years ago. I'd love to tell you guys more. My family would literally sit around at family events and say, okay, everyone be quiet, we have to hear the next Debbie story. And then there's an addition. It's been a few years, but I found 3 pretty mild voicemails from her that show her starting to transition towards anger. Okay, that's something to listen to. But there's a little bit of additional exposition. After 2 years with this woman, I knew everything about her. She would cuss someone out to me, then call them acting all sugar-coated old lady sweet, and then as soon as she hung up, said the nastiest things I've ever heard someone say. And this would be over something as simple as a library card. When I say nasty, I mean I got whiplash and singed eyebrows from how fast she switched from nice to evil with searing hatred. Don't fall for the sweet old lady voice. It's part of her feel sorry for me and come do work for free con. Goodness gracious. Okay, we've got another one from ProRevenge, courtesy of Senor Darkens again. Let's see what this bad boy is. Yeah, that's I'd have only done the shifts as a consultant. Same. Wouldn't have done any extra shifts, and it was a bit much. This is a big meaty one here from ProRevenge, posted by user Inconvenient Silence. Bullies want to get a grade from my work. Not happening. So, last year I attended a course that helps older students get into university. I was one of the youngest in my class at 23. Well, that is actually quite old for university. One of the youngest in my class at 23, with the average student being between the ages of 32 and 53. And oh my god, they were some of the most childlike adults I've ever met. I mean, I have been in a class full of 16 to 17-year-olds before, and they act more like respectable adults than the people that access this course. So this is, again, for older students getting into university. I had a ton of issues in that class. The class was so bad that my favourite lecturer actually admitted to me in private that these are some of the worst people she had ever had the displeasure of meeting, and apologised to me for having to deal with them. My class were discriminatory, rude, fake, and would bully anyone different from them. Their main focus being on either a guy in my class who had a personality disorder and a lack of social awareness, or me because I wasn't from the same area as them and had a posh voice, which makes me sound like I wasn't where I was from. And yes, I found out from a girl in my class that was the reason they hated me, and also thought there was favoritism with the lecturers because my absences didn't affect my grades. Ridiculous, I know. And as someone with a somewhat posh voice, I've had my own share of little grief growing up in a relatively poor town, but speaking properly. Just so you know, just so you are aware, I'm one of those people who keeps to themselves and feels awkward in social situations. So the user who's writing this is a sort of through and through introvert. I think many of us can relate to that. But today, my main focus in this story is on a small group of them who I was forced to work with on a group project. It was a nightmare. The group was made up of 3 guys and 1 woman: Dave, who was 40, Alex, who was 34, Steve at 30, and Liz, who was the oldest at 53, all fake names. The most any of that group did was pick the subject of the project, which was drug use in teens in the UK. And they only picked that topic because they were all talking about their drug experiences and laughing about how Steve was meeting his dealers later. None of them had any idea what they were doing, and I wanted to pass, so I spoke up and asked what everyone is going to do. They all pretty much ignored me and spoke amongst themselves, but when it came to the project being done, my god, I hated them all. Let's see. Alex and Steve would rarely attend to help with the group project. Liz would just sit there quietly eating a snack, but Dave, he was the absolute worst. Dave had a weird thing with me and treated me very strangely, but that is a story for another day. He would only ask if his name was on it. As I previously said, none of them. All 4 of them did nothing towards the project, and I ended up doing the entire project myself. PowerPoint presentation, organisation, and more. When I tried getting the group to do anything, they always just laughed at me or point blank ignored what I was saying. I was so nervous about getting a bad grade that I eventually wrote a script for them all to learn for the presentation, which they didn't do. Adding insult to injury, while I was doing the project, they actually went around bragging about how they didn't have to do a thing, how I was desperate to be their friend, I wasn't, and how pathetic I was. It was done. It's one thing for me to do the project myself, but another for my group to be saying things like this and still expecting credit. So I decided to do things my way. When it was finished, Dave contacted me and would ask how I'm doing, knowing it was done. Before I could even respond, Dave messaged me again asking me to email the finished project to him to check and to add information I might not have had, which he had no interest in doing before. I responded saying he should send me the information via an email I attached and I can check it myself, as I spent a good month doing it all. Plus, I didn't want any of them to have a copy and see what I had planned. He demanded to have a copy and how I should respect my elders, which I said was unnecessary, which made Dave mad, but he did nothing. So what do? You might be wondering. Luckily, I kept a log of every group interaction I had, including a recording of every group meeting we had, which I always said to them I was recording, but knew they would just ignore me as always. Smart kid. Well, not a kid, he's an adult, but a smart guy. On presentation day, my group all stood in front of the class and started presenting it by reading straight from my script, not noticing that none of their names were on the presentation except for mine. Halfway through, they all binned my script and started reading the board, which made them have to improvise what they were saying because I purposefully kept the presentation facts to a minimum, just a title saying driving with the information all in the script and any charts with little descriptions, again, all in the script. They looked ridiculous. I couldn't help but smirk as they were messing around and when they realised what was going on. When they finally reached the end of the presentation after an embarrassingly long time, they were all pissed and looked like they wanted to kill me. The last slide, I added last minute credits. Information gathering by me. Animations by me. PowerPoint by me. Every single thing was listed. I love this. Am I done? No. The finale of everything I did was a given as my lecturer was shocked watching the presentation. We were all taken outside the classroom and told to explain what happened. My group lied through their teeth, saying they did more than me and how I shouldn't get graded. When it was my turn to talk, I got my phone out and played every recording I had, showed the lecturer the multiple messages of me trying to get them involved, and handed her a USB that had the only copies of the script, presentation, and the information gathered. Let's just say I got the grade, and now I'm about to start university. They didn't get the grade, and the bullying got worse. Worth it? Yes, of course.
NTS artist.
Oh my words.
Retrovision.
That is outstanding. It's actually a second part, the story of Dave, about Dave and his obsession, but get to that another. My response to that sort of behaviour is to say loudly in public, "Hey, I didn't know she was your mum when I fucked." That's one way to go about it, his marker. Jesus, but this guy's approach, flawless. He got all the evidence, he did all the work, he got his comeuppance. Bit of a shame, I mean, the bullying got worse, he was stuck in the course, but let's just think, they didn't get the grades. But yeah, they wouldn't be getting in. But I'm surprised they weren't just kicked off the course for that kind of treatment. If I was a lecturer running all of that, I'd have been like, right, you four assholes out. You are done. University is not for you. Next one, we've got a couple. Oh, this is a new Reddit. Oh, it is the follow-up. It's called Let's Not Meet. Sorry, Darkins. I was going to say that hadn't been linked, so I'll get to that later. But it has been. Darkins. So this is a kind of part 2 to that story. And again, this is from Inconvenient Silence. And as requested from my ProRevenge story. Oh, and this for Let's Not Meet, because I don't really know this one. This is a subreddit for a place to read true stories about people you never want to meet again. It's academic dishonesty right there. Yeah, I mean, I've done lecturing at university. You can kick people off the course for that. I would have done, but I'm quite a harsh lecturer. I've had students come in 5-10 minutes late for exams with like no good reason, and I'm just like, oh no, you're not disturbing the other students. Tough shit, you fail.
You can also listen on Spotify. That's probably the best.
What the hell? Sorry, I just realised this random. This part of the playlist is random conversation-y bits. Right, let's just skip straight past that. Okay. So, the story of Dave and his obsession. As requested from my ProRevenge story, here is the story of Dave. In case you don't, let me see. So, like I said in my ProRevenge story, I was part of an access course that allows older students who want to go to university to get the grades to get in. And I was one of the youngest in my class, 23, but 24 when I ended the story, and the vast majority of my class ranging between 32 and 53. By God, there are so many stories I can share about that class. It was the class from hell, but I digress. During the year, I pretty much kept to myself in class, being socially awkward and all, but was still picked on by the rest of my class because I wasn't from the same area as everyone else. Okay, so this is a preface before. I'm from where I said I was from, which is pretty incredible if you ask me. That actually was one of the reasons that I ended up befriending a girl who we will call Tina, who is relevant, I promise. Has that gotten a bit too... No, that seems to be okay, volume-wise. Just checking. So Tina is going to be relevant, I promise. Now to Dave, fake name. Dave was a 40-year-old man who was strange, to say the least. Just to let you know, Dave was slightly shorter than me. I'm 5'10", so he's 5'9" or below. Overweight, balding, with the hair he had being grey at the sides and black on top. Looked really greasy and honestly looked a bit older than he was. But to his credit, was a fairly good dresser. Credit where credit is due. Dave was well liked and was selected to be the class representative, but he always seemed off and actually made me feel very uncomfortable because he would always act weird towards me. He would always look like he was forcing a smile and was constantly bragging about things that, well, aren't exactly brag-worthy. I've worked the last 3 days on 12-hour shifts and still made it to college because education's important. Like stuff like that. I've only spoken to Dave outside the group project maybe 2 to 3 times, and every time he just came across as though something was wrong, even though the conversations were basically elevator talk with a touch of bragging. So I kept contact to a minimum. He openly made statements in class like, I can tell if someone is mental just by I can tell if someone is mentally just by looking at them. Okay, a bit weirdly writing. And young people today don't understand the idea of getting off their asses and working. They'd rather take. So yeah, okay, he's one of them. And to give you an impression of what kind of person he was. On a number of occasions, I felt like someone was watching me, and when I would check, I'd immediately see who it was. Can you guess who it was? You guessed it, Dave. As the year went on, my class got worse while he was keeping up an I'm a nice guy routine. Honestly, I just ignored him most of the time, but did wonder what was making the class become worse. This was a while after the group project thing, and I guess in terms of the bullying and the hassle. It wasn't until the last day that I found out why. I was talking to Tina, told you she'd be back, saying how amazing it is we both completed the course and get on with our lives, until Tina said, I know, thank God I don't have to see Dave again. He was really creepy. I don't even know what his deal was. I asked her what she meant by that, which prompted her to say, hold on, do you not know what he's been saying? Tina told me everything he said, and told me everything, and everything he'd said, all of it was about me. According to Tina, Dave had been saying some crazy stories revolving around me and would always ask her questions about me and my life, asking her about where I grew up, what I wanted to do with my life, about my family. That really creeped me out, but then came the stories he was telling my class. Dave had been saying a lot, to the point that if I knew about this at the time, I would have reported him for harassment or something. Anything to get him as far away from me as possible. He had been saying how I am a desperate attention seeker who was begging him to be friends with me, saying how I use mental illness and health problems for people to feel sorry for me and get better grades, and how I don't deserve to go to university because I'm a fake bitch. Those made me laugh at first because of how pathetic I thought that was, considering we barely spoke, but then felt uncomfortable because somehow he knew about my mental health problems, considering no one except the lecturers knew about it. Then came the wild stories that never even happened. According to Dave, I tried to hug him multiple times. One story was when he told me he got into university. One story was when he told me he got into university. I was jumping for joy and forcibly hugging him, screaming how proud I was of him as he awkwardly, unwillingly hugged me back before pushing me away. The second story, we were leaving class and I turned in front of the lecturer and forcibly hugged him again as he resisted before I skipped out the room saying, "See you later, friend," with the lecturer and him mocking me after I left. The third, and my personal favourite, is supposedly during another class, I turned to Dave and was yet again trying to force him to hug me, but this time he kept telling me to stop, but I laughed at his cries. It wasn't until the lecturer intervened by saying, "Stop it, you are not friends," that I stopped. This is insane. I was taken aback by the stories. Let me just catch on there. Yeah, it's fucking prick. Yeah, I think, yeah, that's Sapphire, you're right, small man complex, but that is full on. He is a prick, this guy, apparently. I couldn't agree more. I was taken aback by the stories and thought maybe it was all made up for amusement or something, but no. When I saw another girl in my class, I tried to ask her about the rumours, but the second I mentioned his name, the girl screamed at me, "Leave Dave alone, you psycho bitch! Honest to God, why the hell are you so obsessed with him? He will never talk to you," and she stormed off. Honest to God, I was shocked. Tina apologised to me for not telling me sooner, but she didn't know. Now, just so you know, I hate confrontation. Most of the time, I try to avoid it, but I couldn't let this go. I don't care if people call me a bitch or a slut, as that's usually a basic insult, and coming from my class who knew nothing about me, it made those kind of comments even more meaningless. But commenting on my character, saying made up stories and calling me crazy, I do not take well. Being called crazy is a trigger for me due to events from my past. Later on in the day, I saw Dave, but when I approached to confront him about all this, he looked as though he saw a ghost and ran. I ended up messaging Dave on Facebook. We weren't friends, but part of the same class page, which you can find below, because after he ran, I couldn't find him. Oh, hang on then, there's a picture link here. Okay, there's no responses back and forth. It's just her sort of unloading at him a little bit. Fair enough. It creeps me out to this day that all that time he had been talking to me and imagining these incidents while I was none the wiser. I hope I never see him again. I wouldn't be surprised. I would not be surprised. Is the OP a woman? Yeah. OP is a woman. Sorry. I think in the previous story, she actually never gave it away, but from this second story, yeah, it's made it clear it's a woman. So this dude is, you know what? I actually kind of want to read what she said. I want to hear, I want to sort of go through what she actually said to him. So her side of the story directly in messages. "Hey, Dave." Again, not real name. "Just so you know, I'm fully aware of everything you said about me, that I supposedly have used my mental health issues as a way to get pity and better grades, how people can't stand me because of my association with so-and-so, that I'm desperately trying to get you to like me, and the fact I supposedly tried to hug you on a number of occasions. What is wrong with you that you feel the need to do that? My health concerns and grades are none of your goddamn business, and just sounds pretty petty that you're saying these things. If you don't like someone based on association alone, you need to get a life. 3, I don't give a toss if you don't like me or not. The reality is I couldn't care less about you. Hell, I barely speak to you to begin with. 4, I've absolutely no idea why you'd make up such a strange lie. I've never tried to hug you at all. Ew. The one time you mentioned getting into uni is when Tina was there, so I've absolutely no idea what you were talking about. I never hugged you in front of person 1 or person 2, lecturer 1 or lecturer 2, either of which they both collaborated. That just comes across as really creepy. You would make something like that up about a 24-year-old girl, almost perverse. So yeah, she's a girl. 5, crying for attention. Are you having a laugh? You have no clue what is going on in my life because you know fuck all about me. Why would I want the attention of a 40-year-old... let's see where I'm at. A 40-year-old man that's just gross, and I don't need pity, especially off of people like you. 6, I'm fake as fuck. Pot calling the kettle black much, considering you were bitching about a girl half your age. I haven't said a bad word about anyone in the class because I couldn't care less, but you seem to have a weird obsession. Get a life. Yeah, fair. Goodness. Right, well, yeah, persons you wouldn't want to meet again. And then the final one we got from Darkens is from ProRevenge, a shady ambulance company. Goodness me. Alright, so this is from user Ordinary Cyan. I was an EMT, that's, was it emergency... medical EMT is like a first responder or something. Can someone remind me what EMT stands for? I was an EMT for a few years. I got a job as a dispatcher at a new ambulance company. I started catching on to some of their unusual practices, and it wasn't long before I became uncomfortable even going to work. We were receiving more calls than we had staff for, in which case we should be giving accurate ETAs so that the hospital or nursing home can contact another company if needed. Instead, I was instructed to always give an ETA of 20 to 40 minutes under all circumstances, even if the real wait time was 2 hours. 2 of you say emergency medical technician. All right, well, if 2 of you independently saying it, I would imagine that's kind of collaboration. Yeah, the ambulance people with Sapphire, but I knew that, but it was like what EMT actually, the initialism stands for. So emergency medical technician, I guess. Cool. We were regularly receiving calls from nursing homes to transport patients with chest pain to the hospital, which a basic ambulance company can't take because chest pain patients have to be monitored by paramedics or RNs or registered nurses in case the patient is having a heart attack. The same goes with patients who are complaining of stroke symptoms. We should be deferring the caller to 911 so that they can be redirected to the appropriate service. It's a private ambulance company. My educated guess was that the company I worked for had a deal with nursing homes, which were ran by the same person who overlooked the ambulance company. Oh, that's a conflict of interest. And basic EMTs at this company were pressured into transporting critical patients that are out of their scope of practice. Whenever I worked, I deferred all chest pain and stroke symptom patients, and I'd give honest ETAs, which would result in us losing calls to other companies. Anyway, I got a verbal warning from my manager to stop doing that because it was costing us business. Even after explaining my rationale, they wouldn't budge. Management kept harassing me, and I got an official write-up and suspended. The write-up states I was instructed to always give a 20 to 40-minute ETA, and I did not comply. After numerous illegal and unethical incidents, I broke after hearing about a stroke patient that was secretly transported, and the patient ended up at a hospital 3 hours later, which is outside the window for which they can receive the first line of treatment. After non-stop conflict with upper management, I could tell I was on the verge of being fired. Sorry, I lost my place there. I was on the verge of being fired. So I went to work and logged all the dates and times of known illegal transports. I also had a copy of my write-up, which ironically gave me ammo because I have on paper that I was instructed to lie. So I quit and I went to the county government regulating agency. I didn't realise how big of a deal this was until they kept sending me to people higher and higher up until I reached the head of the county. They took the log I had and did a surprise bust at the ambulance company. They knew exactly what dates and times to look for and audited everything. Long story short, the ambulance company ended up closing down. I had a lot of friends at that company and I didn't want to screw them over, so I reached out to someone who owns a competing company and they agreed to hire everyone, edit everyone that chose to apply, from my previous company and give them a raise. Let's see, edit, I should have clarified, not everyone switched over to the competing company. The owner agreed to hire whoever chose to apply, and the shady company I worked for had 15 to 20 EMTs, and I think 8 of them chose to transfer. Well, good for this person. I mean, a shady ambulance company, like that was putting people's lives and health at risk, and they got shut the hell down. Top work. Okay, is what I said. Toxoplasmosis. Toxoplasmosis, a parasite found in cat feces, will grow in the human brain, subtly changing behavior. There is some evidence to suggest that toxoplasmosis infection makes people like cats more. That's how they do it. That's how they do it. All right, well, we've got the final stories. There's a little write-up that Sapphire posted literally while we've been doing part 1 on how she met her fiance. So, from Sapphire 882, in October 2014, I was back in Glasgow starting my masters at my old uni. I was hanging with my old friends at the LGBT plus launch night. We were on the subway going to the local nightclub and I met this beautiful, lovely lass. We got off at the station and I was chatting her up whilst we were walking up the escalators. We were approaching the subway ticket barriers and I swore it was open, so I took my eyes off and I swore it was open, so I took my eyes off. I continued chatting to her until whack! The ticket barriers closed on my crotch. Oof. And I flipped over and smacked my face on the floor. Jesus. She asked me if I was alright and we continued on our way. Unfortunately, we didn't end up together on that night until at the LGBT winter... Oh, I'm sorry, I can't read that Celtic word. Winter... Kilv? She recognised... you might have to give me a phonetic... spelling there. I can barely read Irish, to be honest. Kaylee, right? The LGBT winter Kaylee. Thank you. She recognised me as the person who busted my face, but she replied back with this: "It's okay. I mean, I can't dance right now because my foot was run over by a car on my way to hospital. Please don't be embarrassed." Ah, so you bonded over clumsiness. Fantastic. Fast forward to today, and we're getting married in 2021. Well, that is wonderful. That is wonderful. Subway gate to the crotch and a crack on the face meets I got run over, my foot run over by a car on my way to hospital. I sincerely hope you both help keep each other safe. Yeah, Knackered Housewife, you got it. Let me just type. I'll just copy paste it in. So Kaylee in old Scots Gaelic. I assume it's Scots Gaelic is spelt like that. That is very sweet. That is very sweet. Okay, well, that is part 1. As always, thank you everyone for your submissions this week. Now as a yeah, thank you.